So I have the new Shine by SD Eternal and Halo Horizon collections, which are releasing Saturday, August 12th at 9:30 a.m. EST. I'm in a bit of a time crunch because I literally just got the package and it is releasing tomorrow morning, so I won't waste any of our times in this intro, but I was gifted this collection in PR. I do have a discount code with Shine by SC. It is SEEKINGSHIFTS and it will save you 10%. I don't earn any commission, but like it does make me look good to the brand if you use it. Also, I'm just biased toward the brand in general because I do have a collaboration with them and I do consider the owner, Shaniqua, a friend, so take everything I say with a grain of salt. I'm going to try to remain as fair and objective as possible as always, but really this is just to show you the eyeshadows, describe them to you from my perspective, and do comparisons so you can do what you will with that information. Alright, so the Eternal collection has 12 shades, described as this collection is perfect for one eyeshadow looks and has a more everyday feel while still being shifty. This collection is super exciting to me. It reminds me a lot in concept and execution to the Earthborn collection in that it has a lot of complex different colored sparkles in it, but they're very smooth, very user-friendly. I think they would be good for any skill level just based on my first impression and what I know about Shine by SC's formulas. So let's go into each individual shade. Starting off with a spicy neutral banger, we have Moonbeam, described as a light beige with green and pink specks. I would describe this as a champagne, and it is just packed with these concentrated sparkles of pink, green, I see blue as well, and I do see a shift in that like base multichrome pigment. I see it shifts from like that champagne color to very soft gold and green, but it's kind of offset by just the sheer amount of sparkles in it. Small particle size, very smooth, and has a sheen to it. All the shades have a very similar texture, and it's semi-sheer. Forever is described as a deep purple with purple and blue specks and a brown shift. This one is so complex and beautiful in person. I'd say it's like a blackened purple base, and I see a high concentration of teal and purple sparkles. I also see maybe a little bit of pink and orange sparkles there too, but mostly the teal and purple. It shifts to like a pink, bronze, gold, but again it's kind of offset by just the amount of sparkles that are in there. It reminds me of some of the like dimensional shades from Clionadh, but it's not as textured. Courageous is described as a deep maroon purple with a golden evergreen shift and gold specks. This seems to have a deep gray base, not fully opaque, and from straight on it reads as a very muted like mauvey purple, and then it shifts to gold and green. Again, it has a bunch of different colored flecks of sparkle. They're just not as concentrated as the two shades I've shown you before, but this is a really exciting and beautiful shade. This one feels a little bit more dense and shiny than the first two. Breeze is described as a vibrant teal blue with a purple magenta shift. This one is really pretty, but I almost feel like it's kind of out of place in this collection because it's a lot more colorful than the other shades, and also doesn't seem to have that same level of dimension in the like different colored sparkles. It's still a pretty shade, and it's a more approachable version of like the black base version of this type of shade. I just feel like not really on par with the rest of the shades in terms of theming and stuff. It's thin, relatively opaque, and has a shiny finish. Afterglow is described as a vibrant fluorescent golden green yellow with a pale white to blue shift and orange specks. This one is really interesting. It's kind of weird, but in a good way. I'm really intrigued by it. It actually reminds me a lot of Nacre from my collab with Shine by SD, but it's not an iridescent, and it's like this olive leaning soft gold with these orange specks that pop out against it, but they also somehow blend in too. Really excited to try this on my eyes. I feel like it will be really flattering on my skin tone. It shifts to like a silver and blue, similar to Nacre as well. Champagne Sparkle is described as a soft light pink with slight orange shift and blue sparkles. This is a very subdued pale pink that shifts to like a tan and gold and maybe a tiny bit of green. It's not as dimensional as some of the others and has a smooth rather than shiny finish. Two of my friends, Catherine and Cassie, both asked if it would be similar to Fata Morgana from my collab, and I can see why they would ask that, but it's very different in my opinion. I will compare them later on this video. Starlight is described as a soft yellow with a light blue-green shift. This is like a very pale gold once again, and it shifts to green, teal, blue, and even a tiny bit of purple from harsh angles. Very muted from straight on, but from an angle you see those vibrant shifts, which are like my favorite type of multichrome. So this was a really big standout to me. It has a lot of dimensional sparkles, but they're not as concentrated as some of the first ones I've shown you, so it reads more shiny than anything. Evermore is described as a golden bronze with a deep blue shift. This one I think all of you grungy eyeshadow lovers will be interested in. It's this like murky, mossy, not quite green from Straight On, packed with all these different colored sparkles. I see mostly like a spicy orange, maybe a little bit of blue too, and then I see shifts from like that green to silver to blue. I feel like this is a really unique shade, but I'll definitely do comparisons. Everlasting is described as a plum purple with orange, pink, and gold. This one seems to have a deep gray base once again, and it reads to me as a muted mauve that shifts to a very warm tone gold and a little bit of green as well. It has a lot of sparkles in it, but they don't really contrast as much against that base. And this one also seems to have a little bit of a thicker and more opaque formula with a very high shine finish. Garden Glow is described as a rustic rose gold with green and blue shift and gold sparkles. The rose gold is shown from looking at the shadow straight on, so I'm not quite seeing the rose gold, and that could be because my skin tone is very fair with olive undertones. Maybe it doesn't lend itself well to showing that type of shift. Nonetheless, this is a beautiful shadow, and I feel like it's really unique. It has a ton of different colored sparkles, but I feel like they're more blended into the eyeshadow rather than popping out against it. Still creates a lot of dimension, and I don't have anything quite like this. Eternal Haze is a forest green with a slight teal green shift. This is another grungy boy if you ask me. It's this like blackened, not quite green, little bit gray leaning with a ton of different sparkles that are more blended in rather than popping out. Has a very high shine finish. It's one of those shades that like even though it's kind of deep, it's so shiny that it reads more light and vibrant on the eyes. The base is either deep gray or black, but it's not like a full opacity black base, so it's more approachable. Silver Lining is described as a periwinkle silver with green and pink specks. And when I look at this, I see like a silver eyeshadow, but not like a tin can silver. It's more of a tarnished, subdued silver, if that makes sense. And then there appears to be a bunch of pink and other colored flecks throughout it. I see mostly the pink though. Really unique. I didn't have anything really to compare to this. Really beautiful. I can see this being gorgeous as the center of a halo eye or an inner corner highlight. Okay, next up we have the Halo Horizon collection, which are described as beautiful shifty halos. And I don't know if halo is like a play on words for hollow, because these seem to be multichromes with hollow fleck mixed throughout them. So a little bit about them based on my first impressions. They feel like a pressed glitter almost. Like they have a little bit of grittiness to them, but they're not plastic glitter. I know this is a specific type of mica that creates that hollow effect. And the other thing is, when I first swatched them, I was a little concerned because the like hollow part was swatching separate than the actual multichrome part, but once I broke past that first layer, it seemed to be fine. They do recommend to use a tacky base or glitter glue for a more hollow effect. They actually do have a glitter glue. I'm probably going to pick it up because I want to do a glitter glue video, but I digress. They recommend using a tacky base for a more hollow effect, so I think it's going to be one of those types of eyeshadows that requires a little bit of a learning curve and a little bit more work to create that effect, and that seems to be the case with a lot of these more like flaky, glittery types of eyeshadows. So I haven't formed a full opinion on them yet, but I will show you what it looked like when I just tapped it on my bare eyelid. The hollow part actually did surprisingly adhere easily to my lid when I tapped it on with my finger. It looked really pretty. Like it looked like I put a multichrome all over my lid and tapped some hollow flakes on top of it. So I'm still trying to play around with them and figure out the best way to apply them, if I have any tips or tricks, and I'll come back and do an update. I'm trying to figure out, there's a lot of products I need to update you guys on. I'm trying to figure out what's the best way to do that. If you have any suggestions or formats you'd like to see, let me know. But anyway, let's get into the individual shades here. Okay, so Whispers is described as a fiery red orange with yellow shifts and halo sparkles. Okay, I think halo means hollow. So this is like a very spicy, vibrant orange to gold to green multichrome underneath, and then it has that layer of like really intense holographic rainbow sparkles. So because the holographic part is so intense and has a larger particle size, you're not really going to see those multichrome shifts as much, but you can see in the swatch they're definitely there. Luminance is described as a yellow with pink shift and hollow sparkles. This looks like a purple to me in person, but in this footage I think it does look kind of like a pink. And I do see orange and gold shifts, but the hollow is so intense it's hard to see. I think this collection is kind of like the Devinah Moonscapes collection, where they have like all the silver sparkles with different bases, but the difference is here that the sparkles are these hollow flecks and the bases are multichromes. Drift is a smoky purple with green shift and hollow sparkles. This is like a blackened purple base, and again it has those same holographic sparkles, and I see a little bit of that green shift, but to me it just looks like a very intense sparkly holographic blackened purple. I feel like this would create a really beautiful editorial type look, and I'm really excited to do some experimenting with it. Symphony is described as a deep red with green yellow shift, blue specks, and hollow sparkles. This one is my favorite based on first impressions. I feel like it has the most visible shifts. Kind of reminds me of like Glam Shop Zigzag or Devinah Asteria, but just like the hollow version. I'll compare them all later on. And I definitely see those blue specks in addition to the hollow flakes that we see throughout it. Heavenly is a vibrant gold with slight lime green shift and hollow sparkles. This one was a little bit tricky to swatch. I feel like the hollow part is more dispersed throughout it, and it was a little bit harder to get an even application, but it has this like vibrant gold base that did stain yellow on me. Definitely an interesting one. Reflections is described as a light pink with peach and yellow shift and hollow sparkles. This to me looks like a pink, gold, green shifting shade, again with those same hollow sparkles that we've seen in all of the previous ones in this collection. And I feel like with this one, more than any of the others, I can see the multichrome shifts, but I don't think the hollow part is any more or less dispersed than the others besides the last one I just showed you. I don't know if that's to do with the actual tone of the multichrome pigment or what, but I can really see the shifts in this one. Comparison time! Okay, anything with 1 asterisk for the comparison shades I received in PR. If it has 2 asterisks, it's because it was part of my collaboration with Shine by SD. From left to right, we have Heavenly, Afterglow, Shine by SD Nacre, Starlight, Clionadh Chandelier, and then Moonbeam up by my wrist. Left to right, Drift, Clionadh Oxidize, Moonbeam over a dark gray base. Shout out to Cassie and Makeup Journey for the idea. She mentioned they may have similar shifts. And then Forever up by my wrist. Left to right, Clionadh Ferric, Clionadh Weld, Terra Moon's Hyperion, and then Courageous. I feel like Courageous is similar to the 2 black base ones to the left, but it's more like mauve pink, and it looks shinier to me too. Left to right, Clionadh Oculus Light, Shellwe Double Take, and then Breeze. These are all so similar. Like they have basically the identical shifts. They just have very slightly different bases, and the finishes are slightly different. Left to right, Shellwe Yearning Voice, Shine by SD Fata Morgana, Shine by SD Crown Flash, and then Champagne Sparkle. I thought Champagne Sparkle would be similar to Crown Flash, and 2 of my friends thought it would be similar to Fata Morgana, but I feel like they're all different in their own way. Left to right, Clionadh Hedge Maze, Eternal Maze, Clionadh Embroidery, Terra Moon's Hot Spice Cider, and then Evermore up by my wrist. I feel like these are all in the same family, but they do have slight differences. Left to right, Clionadh Solder, Clionadh Cathedral, and then Everlasting. Everlasting is more similar to Cathedral in the tone, but it's more similar in the finish to Solder. Left to right, Shine by SD, Breakthrough, Silver Lining, Terra Moon's Shattered Stars, and then Garden Glow. Shout out to Catherine B. Beauty for the suggestion to compare Garden Glow to Shattered Stars, because I did not see that similarity. I feel like this would be similar to Iron Gate from Clionadh, but I don't have that. Okay, last comparisons. Glam Shop Zigzag, Devinah Asteria, and then Symphony. Hopefully you can see what I mean, how like Symphony is similar to these two, just with those hollow flakes over top. I keep calling them flakes, but I don't know what they are. Okay, like I said, I was on a time crunch, so I may have missed some obvious comparisons. Let me know in the comments if there's anything you'd want to see, and I can do it on my stories. But that's going to be it for this video. I hope you liked it. I hope it was helpful. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. Please subscribe to my channel if you're not already. Other than that, I'll see you in the next one. Bye!